Hey YouTube, it's Chrissy, and I wanted to post this video because I know it's been a couple of months since I've published a video. So I felt like I needed to share what's been going on and why I haven't posted in a while. So these past couple of months have been really crazy for me, and my life has is definitely going through a transition. And in August, I think my last video was like the last week of July. And in August, I believe it was like August 4th, I contracted COVID. And at the time, I thought it was just like a cold or that I just had a cold, like I was coming down with something. But then when I noticed that I couldn't taste my food, I was like, okay, this is definitely a sign of COVID. So I got tested, and of course you have to wait 3 days for the results. But during the 3 day waiting period, like I felt so horrible. Um, so my symptoms for COVID, I was continuously coughing, like nonstop. Um, I It was hard for me to sleep because when I would lay down, I felt like I couldn't breathe. So I had a hard time breathing. Um, I couldn't taste. So that meant that I didn't eat. So I actually lost like 40 pounds going through COVID because all I could do was drink water and eat oranges. That was the only thing I could eat was oranges. So I ate probably like 3 oranges a day, and just a whole bunch of water because I couldn't eat anything else. And what else? I think I had a fever like the first 2 days, but I didn't have a fever the entire time. But most of the time, it was just pretty much I couldn't eat. Um, I was continuously coughing, and I had a hard time breathing. So those were the symptoms that I had. Um, Unfortunately, my entire family got sick, and my husband, I think he was sick for like a couple of days. Um, Leilani, she was sick. The two youngest ones, they were sick for I think 2 days as well. And then my oldest son, he didn't show any symptoms, but they all tested positive. But my oldest son didn't show any symptoms, so thank God it wasn't bad for them. But I got sick pretty bad. And so I knew, like, okay, usually people are over COVID in 10 days. So I'm expecting to be like better in 10 days. And actually was feeling worse. And I couldn't even walk to the bathroom. And from my bathroom to my bed is literally like a few steps, but I would be out of breath. I couldn't even stand up long. And so the doctors were telling me, just drink lots of water, take vitamin D. And so, I was doing that, but I was like, oh my God, I'm not getting any better. And so it's actually, I was talking to my kid's doctor just to make sure that they were okay. And she heard how much I was coughing, and she was like, "Oh my God, like you're coughing a lot." Like I literally would be coughing the entire time. Like the coughing was horrible. And so she's like, "You need to go get tested to see if you have pneumonia." And so I have like a two-story house, so I had to walk down the stairs to go to Kaiser, and oh my goodness, it was the worst feeling ever because I could not breathe, and just like walking down the steps was so hard for me. And so I did, finally got to Kaiser, found out I did have pneumonia. And I had pneumonia for like 4 weeks. I was like, when is this going to be over? Because I cannot take this. I cannot take this. So, I had pneumonia for 4 weeks. I couldn't talk long. Like if I was to have a conversation, I would be out of breath. It was just really unbearable. Like the pain that I felt was just horrible. But um during the time of like being out sick, so that meant that I was out of work for like a good month and a half, right? And so um those of you that watch my channel know that I work two jobs. So I have like a full-time job, and then I also started a nonprofit, so I work that full-time. So I do like two full-time jobs. So I was gone for 2 months, and that was pretty hard on my staff. Um, but during my time of being off, I was already dealing with the emotions of COVID, and I found out on August 15th that one of my staff had passed away. And she's a staff from my nonprofit, and um, I'm trying to do this video without crying because I don't like crying, but there's nothing wrong with crying. Trust me, there's nothing wrong with crying, so I'm not promoting that. Um, but what I will say is that she was someone that was very dear to me, and she was actually the first employee that I ever had for my nonprofit. So she was someone that like believed in my vision and really supported me. And honestly, I consider her family. And so it was just like I was already sick and I wasn't taking phone calls. So people were calling me, just to check in to see how I was doing. And I couldn't talk, right? Like if I was to talk, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was going to die, honestly. So I wasn't talking to anyone on the phone. I was only texting. So her daughter had called like multiple times and I just couldn't talk. And so I was just like, I'll text her when I feel better. But then I started getting like multiple phone calls, and I was just texting people like, I'm not able to talk right now, like I'll connect with you when I feel better. And then I just started getting multiple texts where people were like, I'm sorry to hear about Miss Roz, that's her name, Rosalind, that passed away. And I'm like, hold on, what? Like, what do they mean? I'm sorry to hear about Miss Roz. So because I had just talked to her like right before I got sick, and I knew she was not feeling well, but I didn't know it was to that extent. And so um like that was hard for me. That was really hard for me to hear that she was gone. And so I was dealing with those emotions while also battling with pneumonia and just getting over COVID, right? And then 2 days later, I'm sorry. 2 days later, I got a phone call that my grandma passed away. Um, that was August 17th. And I've lost people in my life, but this one was the hardest loss for me. My grandma was like really my mom and my best friend and someone that I talked to every single day. And just losing her was just so traumatic for me. Um, and I'm still battling with it now. So like, I really am so sorry to all of my YouTube followers. It's not that I haven't wanted to post. It's just that emotionally I haven't been in the right place to post. Each day it's like really hard because my grandma, when I found out she was going to the hospital and she wasn't doing well, I was told that she was going to be passing away, and I had pneumonia, right? So I was staying in the house and I wasn't walking, but I was just like, if my grandma is passing, there's no way that I am not going to go see her. Like, I don't care what anybody says, like, I'm going to go see my grandma. Um, and so I did go up there, and it just sucks, because I know that everyone's not here forever, right? But I just wish that I could have, touched her or even talked to her before she passed, because when I was sick with COVID, she continued to call, and of course I wasn't answering because I didn't feel good, or I couldn't even talk, right? But I just wish I could have like held her hand and um been there as she was passing to let her know that like I loved her and that I was there with her. And so it was really hard, not just for me but for my family as well. Um and I know that like she was loved by a lot of people, and even my entire family, but I just feel like a sense of like ownership of her, just because of how close we were, and just like, this is my grandma, I love her, and I want to be there for her. So it's just been really hard for my entire family. But my kids, you know, seeing my kids struggle with losing their grandma. Well, really, it's their great grandma, but they know her as grandma. Um, that pain is just like so hard. And I am still trying to show up for work and be present, and still be mom and be present, still be a wife and be present, still be a friend and be present. But it's just so hard. And like, I really learned, when I was going through this loss, how many people really did care about me, because so many people reached out. One, because they know like my relationship with my grandma and how much I love her. And like, that meant a lot to me. So all of you that called, text, dropped food off, gifts, like all of that, like that means the world to me, because my grandma meant a lot to me. And um with Thanksgiving coming up, it's gonna be hard. Like, I think every holiday is gonna be hard, because my grandma spent like half, like over half of the year with me. Like, I don't know if I told you guys, like during COVID, like my grandma lived with me, right? Like, I was super protective of her. And it's just been really hard. And my husband and I, we actually just celebrated 11 years, 11-year anniversary um earlier this month. Our anniversary is on the 12th of October. And we were like, okay, we're gonna get away. And then I didn't realize like how difficult that was for our kids, because anytime we would go away, like grandma would come over and stay with the kids. And so this was the first time that they were home by themselves, without grandma. um and so like, it's just like a lot of things like that that are like, you know, um, a part of our routine. Like my daughter, every night before she goes to bed, like she would always call my grandma and they would pray together before she goes to bed. And so, like, even that's hard, right? Like, for her to even go to sleep, because she would call my grandma every single night and pray with her. And so, those are the type of things that has been hard on my family. So, I just want to say thank you to all of my followers that are watching the entire video. And I just really ask that you just really pray for me and my family, because it's been really hard. And during all of that trauma, right? Like going through COVID, having pneumonia, losing my staff, losing my grandma 2 days later, that meant the next week I had funerals. And I could I was getting better, but I still wasn't feeling well, right? So I was just like, there's no way that I'm not going to miss Ross' funeral. There's no way I'm missing my grandma's funeral. And so, um, I had to push through to make it to both of those funerals. But despite all that, I know that we're gonna come out stronger. And I know that everything happens for a reason. But even knowing that, it's still hard when you really love someone. But that's where I've been, what's been going on with me, why I've been MIA. Um I, of course, still have been to Dollar Tree despite all of this. So I have a lot of stuff to film and show you guys that I've bought. But thank you so much for still sticking with me. And I will be posting some of my Dollar Tree finds that I have found over the past couple of months. But I did feel like that I needed to share with you guys what was going on with me and why I had been MIA. But I thank you so much for all of your support, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.